My name is Hannah Stevens and my student number is 160042336, and this is my presentation for Research Methods 4. Informed consent form is a form which a participant must fill out before they take part in any health test. It is to make sure that the client knows what they are doing throughout the research test and to protect the researcher. It should include the protocol of what the test includes so that the client knows what they are going to be doing. It should also have a space for the client and the tester to sign and date to show they both agree the test to take place. This gives the tester permission to carry out the test on the client. Here is an example of informed consent form. This is for a health test, so it just shows all the different tests. It can see where the participant can drop out at any time, and it shows that they can sign and they're happy to take part in the test. It's important that informed consent forms are filled out before taking part in health checks, because the results can be private and some tests are invasive. It is important that the client understands that what the tests are before they carry them out, so they feel comfortable. Confidentiality is where only information relevant to the study is published. This is to ensure that the client's personal information isn't released to people that don't need it and could utilise it in an informal manner. To ensure that irrelevant information isn't used, codes could be used to ensure confidentiality. For example, names could be changed to participant A, etc., to ensure that their results aren't directly linked to them. To ensure confidentiality, all collected data is protected by the Data Protection Act, which was in 1998. All data must be securely stored in locked filing cabinet or cupboard. Only the relevant person must be able to access this. If it's electronic data, then they must be password protected. The password must only be given to the relevant person again. For example, if the tester wants to see if just drinking smoothies will help the client lose weight, the researcher only needs the individual's weight and any health issues that relates to their weight and possibly their age. Their name, gender and address are not relevant to the individual losing weight, therefore the research should not ask for this information. If confidentiality is not utilised in the correct manner, severe consequences can occur for the client. If personal information, for example their address, is given to an unreliable person, they could turn up to the house and blackmail them for more personal details. BASE stands for British Association of Sport and Exercise Scientists. They govern sport and exercise research to make sure it is done legally and ethically. They have produced a code of conduct to help ensure it's done legally and ethically. Legal or civil action is whereby if you work without due regard or ethical and legal issues within sport and exercise science, you are leaving yourself open to legal or civil action if something goes wrong. This is where a participant can take you to a tribunal for not working legally or ethically. For example, if the tester said that they were going to test if being hydrated increased reaction time, they said in the consent form that they were going to give the client water, but instead added a stimulant tablet to their water, and the client didn't agree, the client could hold legal or civil action towards the tester. The advantages of legal and civil action are the participant feels safer. This is because it makes the researcher tell the client exactly what they're going to take part in. This means that the research has to be more trustworthy. It also makes the client feel more assured because they can take the researcher to a tribunal where they could be prosecuted. Overall, it detects researchers from working legally and unethically, because they know that the client can take them to a tribunal and they could have legal and civil action taken towards them. The disadvantages of legal and civil action is that the researcher can be prosecuted for a simple error. This means that a very good researcher could be prosecuted and unable to complete any more research tests due to the small error. Another disadvantage is that participants may not know how to do this. The legal and civil procedure is very simple. However, if someone doesn't understand how it is done, they wouldn't be able to hold any action against them. This can make this feel very vulnerable if information is misused. Overall, it's a positive impact because they get more research and more participants, which means there's more rich data. This means that the conclusions are more trustworthy and reliable, so it can be used in future experiments and research. Tribunals are where, if you do not work within ethical and legal guidance, you could be subject to a tribunal, otherwise known as court justice, where you will effectively be on trial for not working legally or ethically under bases. This can lead to measures stopping you from conducting future research. This means that you will be out of research until you can prove to be legal. It is needed to stop illegal and unethical actions and to get certain individuals out of their job. For example, if the tester that they were going to test if being hydrated increased reaction time, they said in the informed consent form that they were going to give the client water, but instead they added a stimulant tablet to their water, and the client didn't agree, the client could hold legal or civil action towards the tester. This could then take them to a tribunal for further action to take place. The advantages of a tribunal are that they ensure that we can trust researchers. The researchers will have to be honest with the client because they know the consequences. The research is therefore more trustworthy, so it can be used in future studies. This means that future studies can further develop and have more evidence to support the initial theory. Furthermore, this can improve the reputation of British universities because they have plenty of reliable researchers and evidence for their studies. Overall, tribunals can ensure that the researchers are honest so that they can protect themselves and their clients. It therefore leads to more reliable evidence for future research. The disadvantages are that it can take time to begin a tribunal. This is due to the amount of people and evidence needed to ensure that the overall outcome is correct. This means that the untrustworthy researcher can carry on being illegal and unethical because they haven't had time to call them into a tribunal. This can lead to more unreliable evidence and more individuals being treated unfairly. Another disadvantage is a good defense can allow an unethical researcher to be innocent. The researcher can always get lawyers to help them protect them so that they can keep their job. This can make it difficult to prosecute the researcher. This can lead to the researcher keeping their job and remaining unethical and illegal. Finally, sometimes some people who are not guilty can be found guilty. This can lead to a good legal and ethical researcher being charged and kicked out of their job. This means that there is still people being unethical and illegal, which is impacting the reliability of evidence collected. Measures to stop future research is when working as a member of BASES. You are subject to the BASES disciplinary procedure. If you don't work ethically and legally, you You could be called before a tribunal where a group of BASES officers and the chair of BASES will review your particular case to discover if you have been working ethically and legally. From this tribunal, significant measures can be put into place to stop research temporarily or permanently, such as temporary suspension or permanent exclusion of BASES. This is needed when tribunals take too long and the researcher needs to be prosecuted urgently. For example, if the tester said that they're going to test if being hydrated increased reaction time. They said that in the informed consent form that they were going to give the client water, but instead they added a stimulant tablet to their water and the client didn't agree. The client could hold legal and civil action towards the tester. If the researcher has already made unethical and illegal action in the past, and they are repeating that actions, BASES could hold a meeting because they want to ban the researcher quickly before they carry on their actions. The advantages of measures to stop future research is that it ensures that we can trust researchers and the evidence. This means that they only have trustworthy researchers carry out the tests and the evidence collected will therefore be reliable. It can help get good researchers back on track. This means that the evidence can be used in the future because it is reliable. Finally, a world-class researcher could get banned. If they are found out and caught through the meeting with BASES, they could get banned. This means that the future research will be back on track and someone who works legally and ethically can take over their job. Overall, it's very powerful because it can ban researchers quickly because they don't have to wait for the tribunal. The disadvantages are that a fine for a big company, for example Nike, will not impact their future decisions. This means that bigger companies can continue to work illegally and unethically because they need more than a fine to prevent them from carrying on. Researchers that only have temporary bans could still come back and start working unethically again. This is due to no further action taken when they come back. This means that the evidence that they begin to collect will be unreliable and will not be suitable to use. The last disadvantage is that some punishments can be over the top. For example, if someone has made one small mistake but have been legal and ethical the whole time they have been working, and they get a permanent ban, it would be classed as over the top. This is because a good researcher could have been banned from their job for making a small mistake. However, some people who always work unethically and illegally all the time will only get a temporary ban. This is unfair and can cause evidence to be unreliable. Here are my references.